Rizal is the most traveled Filipino hero in history. His travels and adventure is essential for his education, and in this experience he learned the culture and politics of other countries. Listen as our group will tell you the stories of the travels, wonders, and adventure of Rizal.
Delusion with how Filipinos in the Philippines were regarded as second-class citizens in institutions of learnings and elsewhere. The national hero, Jose Rizal, left the country in May 1882 to further studies in abroad. He went to Universidad Central de Madrid in Spain in June 1883. He traveled to France to observe how medicine were practiced there.
After a 3-month sojourn in France, Rizal returned to Madrid and published a book that exposed the colonial relationship of Spain and Philippines. This idea was realized in March 1887 with the publication of the novel Noli Me Tangere.
Rizal was actively involved in the propaganda movement, composed of Filipinos in Spain who sought to direct the attention of Spaniards to the concern to the Spanish colony in the Philippines. He wrote articles for publications in Manila and abroad, convened with overseas Filipinos to discuss their duty to the country, and called on Spanish authorities to institute reforms in the Philippines, such as granting freedom of the press and Filipino representation in the Spanish Cortes.
It's fine, Rizal!
Rizal returned to Manila in August 1887 after 5 years in Europe. However, his homecoming was met by the Friars' furor over Noli Me Tangere. 6 months later, pressured by the Spanish authorities as well as by his family and friends to leave the country and avoid the further persecution, Rizal left Manila for Hong Kong.
From Hong Kong, Rizal traveled to Macau and Japan before going to America, entering San Francisco, California in April 1888. He visited the states of Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Nebraska, Illinois, and New York. He jotted down his observation of the landscape in his diary.
Rizal arrived in England in May 1888. In August, he was admitted to the British Museum, where he copied Antonio de Morga's massive study of the Philippines, which is Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, which Rizal later annotated for publication as a gift to the Filipinos. He also frequently visited Spain, where he met fellow Filipino intellectuals such as Marcelo H. del Pilar, Mariano Ponce, and Graciano Lopez Haina.
In March 1891, Rizal finished his second novel El Filibusterismo in France. He planned to publish the book in Belgium but was financially hard up. Finally, in September 1890, El Filibusterismo was published in Gent using the donations from Rizal's friends.
Meanwhile, the rivalry had ensued between Rizal and with Pilar over the leadership of the Asociación Hispano-Filipino in Spain. Rizal decided to leave Europe to avoid worsening war. After staying some time in Hong Kong, he practiced medicine and planned to build a new Calamba. By relocating landless Filipinos to Borneo, Rizal came home into the Philippines in June 1892.